We continue with the testimony of the witnesses on day one of the poisoned husband murder trial. If you haven't been following the case, I'm going to give you a recap. As always, please, major trigger warning. Corey Richards is currently facing murder charges as well as attempted murder and fraud for allegedly taking the life of her husband, Eric, back in March of 2022. Now, according to the prosecution, she did this because she owed over $4 million due to loans involving her business. She simply could not take care of the loans. She wanted a clean slate and could not do that if she divorced her husband because she had signed a prenup. And well, according to the state, she needed the life insurance as well as other things that she would have acquired due to his death for her to be able to start a new life. Now, the defense states that that's not the case at all. In fact, this is only going to court because the family of Eric refuses to accept the reason that he died, are just trying to find someone to blame. She has always maintained her innocence. Now, I'm going to continue with the witness testimony. This is part 2 of the sister, Katie, who is being cross-examined by the defense. Keep in mind that when Eric died, prior to dying, he had put all of his assets in a trust to be managed by his sister. Now, the defense asked the sister about the trust. What was the plans with the trust? And she shared he put all of his assets in this trust as the essentially manager of this trust. She was supposed to review everything, any requests that Corey would have, and approve them accordingly. She said her role was really to carry out her brother's wishes, whatever they were. Now, she asked her, were you getting paid from this trust? She said, well, I could take a fee. However, I did not want to take a fee. In fact, I wanted to make sure that all the beneficiaries got what they were entitled for or entitled to. She asked her, well, question, if Corey, for example, wanted to buy a car, would she have to ask you as a trustee? And she goes, well, money has to be reviewed. Now, the thing is that there is a lot of litigation happening right now because according to her, 3 weeks after her brother passed, Corey filed a lawsuit. Right now, the attorneys would then have to review everything. This is apparently still ongoing. So any request that Corey would make, attorneys instead came in, worked with her to review everything, then approve or deny any requests that she would have. She then tried to ask her a few questions about the maintenance of the home, the mortgage, and all of that because that was part of it. However, the prosecution objected, saying that it was out of scope. They go on to talk about the fact that she spoke initially and said that when she arrived, like Corey was very put together while her brother was there, not breathing, getting ready to be wheeled out, that she had like a jogger suit together, had her hair done, looking really put together. She was kind of shocked. Also, Corey didn't even address her, didn't even talk to her. Well, they showed a video and it actually showed that Corey was in pajamas. Corey had her hair like in a messy bun. She had just gotten up. This is what she looked like. So I don't know what the hell her sister Katie was talking about. And also, when Katie broke down after being told that her brother died, Corey, in fact, went over, crouched down, and hugged her and started comforting her. The opposite of what Katie stated. And Katie goes, well, it's been 5 years, my memory. She goes, but you're testifying on what happened, 3 years. What happened 3 years ago. Same memory, but you remember that. They then go on to the fact that before the detective was even able to get into the house, when the detective arrives, immediately she's on the driveway, the sister Katie, and goes up to the detective. His name is Detective Woody. Prior to the detective even getting out of the vehicle or getting into the home to see what was going on, he was just called. He was a death. They weren't going to do an autopsy. She immediately goes up to the detective, tells the detective that she's almost certain that Corey had something to do with it. She was the one that was managing the trust, and that apparently Corey had taken a lot of money from her brother just right before. She goes on to talk about the fact, though, that she doesn't recollect this. So they went ahead and brought up, apparently the officer had relayed all of the details about what she shared as well as her sister. So she asked her, what was the reason that you would go up to this officer who has not even been able to enter the home to see what is going on, to see what happened to your brother, but you go up to him and do this? And she said, well, I just felt like I had an overwhelming feeling that I should let someone know that she had taken quite a bit of money from my brother that we had, I guess, recently just found out. And she said, well, did you think Corey was behind it? She was like, no, I just thought that maybe someone needed to know this. They go on to then talk about the Apple Watch. She goes, what was the issue with him and the Apple Watch? And she said, well, I just couldn't understand why she would grab it, wipe it, and delete it. So Corey didn't go through the watch trying to look at anything, right? And she was like, no. She said, do you think that maybe, just maybe, she was concerned about her son having access to maybe adult conversations that weren't beneficial for him to read? And she was like, I don't know, I guess. They then go on to the fact that she wanted to sell the home and how she said it really quickly on that particular day. And he said, well, would you think that maybe a widow would not want to live in a home where her husband just died in their bedroom where they slept together? And she was like, well, I guess. And then they talk about, did he tell you that he was taking meds or whatever? And she goes, I know that he was on testosterone. So apparently he shared that with her. She said, well, did you know that he took any other meds? She said, well, according to his medical records that were given to us, he did use THC. Apparently, when they picked him or when they went through the room, he had bags upon bags of the THC gummies. And that also, she insists that he didn't take any type of prescription medication unless it was necessary, but he tried not to because of the way that they were raised, where the mother was a counselor, a drug counselor, and was really concerned about addiction from prescription meds. Now, what's interesting is that on the prenup, if he died, she would get the business interest. But if they divorced, she would lose it all. So she said, however, that all changed the moment you became trustee. She goes, correct. What he did is that he put it as an asset into the business. So everything was then monitored by her. They go on to talk about the fact that she hired multiple investigators, multiple people to even analyze handwriting because she believed that she had fraudulently filed for health and life insurance on her brother for $100K and that she had signed it. And so she hired these experts, and any evidence that they received, they would turn it over to the state. However, at one point she had to stop working with them because they now were working with the state, so they could no longer manage the assets and continue the investigation with her. She addresses the cremation, the fact that she quickly brought up when we were planning the funeral. All of a sudden, after we were doing this, she said she wanted a cremation. The defense said, well, with cremation or without cremation, was there an autopsy that was going to be done? And she was, well, yes. She goes, so even if he wasn't cremated, it was irrelevant. She was going to have an autopsy done because that was already discussed on day one. And she goes, well, yes, I guess so. They continue talking about the fact that the entire time she was constantly emailing detectives, sending them whatever information she could find on Corey. Additionally, she does state, the defense state, that the sisters went through his truck, grabbed his cell phone, went through it, all things that they did while the police were at the home, same day that he died, instead of waiting for even the police to get that evidence. On top of that, they turned over a computer that belonged to Eric to the investigator, kept it for a while instead of allowing the police to be the first ones to go through all of his computer details. Now, what's crazy about all of this is that then they turn it over to the prosecution, and well, they brought up the fact that she had supposedly taken money from his account. Come to find out, Eric had, when he went to the bank, there was $250,000 missing. An account was empty. What happened? Apparently, she took out a loan without his knowledge, a home equity loan against his house. She signed his signature on that $250,000 loan. They also found multiple credit cards pulled in his name that had nothing to do with him. At this point, he had even reached out to a divorce attorney, brought up all of these financial concerns that he did have. Let's go into the next witness in the next video. Talk to you soon.